So I got into it last night with Rascally, the author of the kind of... Well, in one way it's a continuation of the Gamers Are Dead articles, and in the other way it's a kind of contradiction to it, though it has the same effect. Anyway, he wrote the We're All Gamers Now article, which was in Vice, which is rapidly, obviously, going the way of Gawker and the rest of the problems that we've had. So yeah, I got into it with him the other night, trying to find out why he would write something so shit and inaccurate, and why he would add to the pile of attacks on gamers. And he would not give any kind of satisfactory answer over Twitter, and grew more and more hostile, even though I was initially trying to be quite reasonable with him, even if we disagreed. So in the end I went and I fisked his original article and his blog post, which was a response to the shit he was being given for that original article. And the hypocrisy and problems just continued. Indeed, you could say that's a corollary to Sargon's law, which is they're always projecting is that they're massive hypocrites, and this would seem to bear that out. Now, Mr. Scullion has a long and storied history in the games media, and it's been a source of some mirth to people that I would say claims to when I talk about that. Well, I say Chris claims to have a long career in games media because someone that does have a long career in games media should know better than Chris does with what he did in his articles. You know, he does seem to know the history, but he misses key points out, like the house organ magazines. That's missed out. He ends up blaming gamers for the existence of the clickbait articles and the negative articles and so on, and seems to at least implicitly acknowledge these are a bad thing, but then engages in it with his We're All Gamers Now article. And so it continues to go. You know, his blog post was in part complaining about being dogpiled and told off for writing a shitty article, and then at the same time he presents my counterpoint to his followers in a way to encourage a dogpile and horrible comments and abuse and so on. So yeah, it's projection. It's always projection. What he really took exception to was the fact that I came to the opinion that the only reason he could possibly be doing this would be malicious. I'll take you through my logic. Someone who has been involved in gaming for that long, you know, acknowledges things like the bullying that used to go on, but then participates in it for different reasons. Someone who has genuinely been part of the gaming scene for all this time should know better. They should know what the gaming community is. They should know what the term gamer means, rather than just someone who plays games. You know, so someone who has genuinely been involved in gaming throughout that period and up to the modern day should be able to avoid the mistakes that he made. They should be embedded enough in the gaming community, and they should be engaged enough in the gaming community, and they should understand the history of the gaming community enough to avoid all these pitfalls. But Chris hasn't. Chris has walked straight into them, and apparently deliberately. So, yeah, if I take him at his word, and I have no reason not to, and this was the point of putting it that way, if I assume that everything he says about being involved in the gaming community for so long is true, then the only reason he should get everything so completely and utterly wrong can be malice. And Chris objects to that, so fair enough, he's stupid and incompetent and lazy, and that'll have to do. But I don't genuinely believe that. My opinion is that this has to be malicious. You know, there's good reasons gamers are suspicious. There's good reasons people objected to his article, getting rid of the gamer identity, failing to understand what gamers are, decrying bullying and then engaging in it at the very next moment. You know, all these things piss people off. And what particularly pissed me off is he seems to be playing a sort of written version of not touching, can't get annoyed, not touching, can't get annoyed, not touching, can't get annoyed. Because clearly there's digs at Gamergate through the whole thing. It references the Gamers Are Dead articles, which, you know, kicked the whole thing into high gear, really. So it's obviously referencing that. It dismisses the gamers who are objecting to what's been going on as angry teenagers, which is not so different to, you know, entitled hyper consumers or whatever the phrase was. You know, it's clearly there's dig after dig after dig after dig against what he presumes Gamergate to be, even though he never mentioned it by name, and that's his trump card. Aha! I never mentioned you by name. Ha 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 ha. Which is disingenuous bullshit. We all know what he's talking about. We all know what he's referencing. We all know, you know, what's been the big news in gaming for the last year. You know, there's no getting away from it. So, unfortunately, there seems to be no point trying to engage him, and I lost my rag, as is wont to happen occasionally. I lost my rag because just recently I did that video on how to report on the internet. And it's not difficult to report on the internet. It really isn't. It just takes a tiny, weeny bit of research. And so to find someone who claims to be that understanding and that knowledgeable about gaming, making those same elementary mistakes, rather than making the effort to research, to think, and to apply what he's found to his work, is just majorly disappointing. And this goes beyond gaming media. You know, I'm starting to see it everywhere. Just the laziness, the clickbait, the lack of responsibility for the way they're acting. You know, even when people have done bad things, like hunt a lion for no good reason, or you know, say racist things while in bed with someone. You know, these are things which are bad and wrong and should be decried as such, but the way the reporting has been done is still irresponsible. I mean, we've got actresses doxing the dentist who hunted the lion. The release of the Hulk Hogan racism is such a transparently obvious move in relation to the court case by Gorka that it beggars belief that anyone can't see that, really. And so it goes with everything else. Reporting is terrible, news, media is terrible, and I'll be talking some more about that later. But meanwhile, that guy's a cunt. Peace out.